Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to do a walkthrough of the generative AI repo so far to kind of share what I've been working on and some of the most important files and elements of working with the repo. So first, I wanted to go over quickly just the Vercel AI SDK really quick, and then I'll go through the code and kind of just go through each file and spend more time on the ones that are most critical. And then after that, I'll open up the app and kind of flip back and forth and show like how the code is affecting the actual application. So to start out, one thing I wanted to highlight on a high level is that there's three parts of the Vercel AI SDK. So there's the core, the UI, and the RSC parts of the library, server components. And to give or I'll go to the overviews here, but the core is mostly for working like directly with the LLM. So you can see here we're calling the model, we're giving the prompt, and we're importing OpenAI to be able to use their models. So we could change this here to be working with a different model, or actually we have here, we can use different providers like Claude, or we can use Google's, and then I guess we can use custom ones too. Or this is like a local model that I believe we would host, or maybe they host it in the cloud. So the core part is really for working with the large language models. And then the other two here, you can almost think of it as like the client side and the server side. Or another way to think of it is we have kind of like this UI state, and then we have like an AI state. And the UI state is like the visual that's generated from the AI state. So on the UI side of things, we have in the overview a few key functions like using chat to stream messages or handle the text completions. Alternatively to just getting text, we can also stream JSON objects, so maybe that could be helpful for like our function mapping at some point. And then we also have this use assistant, which I believe can bring in kind of like custom GPTs and more kind of customized AI system prompts and things like that. And then I believe we also have in here some like streaming that we'll get into in the code. And then on the server component side of things and the server side of things, Next.js using 14 using server actions. We have the AI state and the UI state represented on the server side, and then using actions, which is where we're going to write the functions that do the generative element, which will make more sense once we go into the code. And then, we also have this like kind of the same way that you wrap an app in like the Chakra provider, we're going to wrap it in this AI wrapper to be able to maintain the AI and the UI state in the code. So I just kind of wanted to outline that there are kind of three different like verticals of the AI SDK, because I feel like on a high level that helps understanding how it's working. Having the one that talks to the LLMs, the one that's representing the client and the UI, and then the one that's representing the states and the actions on the server side. Okay, so now let's jump into the code. So here's the README here, and I'll just start from the top. So first off, we're in right now, the branch that we're in is this Dylan/add generative AI to apps, where I'm integrating the AI repo into the mono repo. So you can see we have the main app here and then the generative AI app. And then just going from the top in the app folder, we have this API route, and we're using the core part of the Vercel AI SDK here, and we're using the OpenAI provider, so we could also like import Anthropic here and use Claude instead, so it's super easy to change the model or do a drop down if we want to allow people to use multiple models. And you can see here we're streaming text, which means that it's not going to have to load the whole message, but it will come in real time just like ChatGPT does as the message is typed out. So that's the only thing in the API folder right now. Next, this is really the most important file, and this is where a lot of the generative functionality is. So this is a server action, and we have two interfaces here for the messages that the chatbot's going to be sending. But most importantly, what we have here is the tools that we're using, and this is where the AI decides to call specific functions for different things. So I'm going to open up the app here because I think it's going to make it easier to kind of show exactly what this is doing. But basically, each one of these tools is going to correlate to one of the shortcuts that we have on the app to do a specific function. So this draw modular dashboard is going to be running this draw grid function. And so in these tools, first we give the name of the tool, then we provide a description. And I believe the description, in addition to the prompt, is what helps the AI determine when to use this tool. So for this one, we're drawing a grid of skeleton loaders with the following dimensions. And you can see here we pass in the dimensions in rows and columns. And then we have this Zod schema here. So this could be a part of the function mapping as well, where we can basically define what we want the AI to ask us before running this function. So if I say, hey, draw a grid, it's going to actually ask, okay, how many rows do you want the grid and how many columns do you want the grid? And then you could see I define, this is like a type setting of a number. We could also make this a string. And then you just kind of describe what this parameter is. And then once the tool is kind of selected to run, it will run this generate function. And then we'll have a loading state for it. And then we're going to generate the actual React component that is going to be generatively shown. So right here, it's this grid component, which is in another file. And that's going to generate dynamically the grid depending on the amount of rows and columns that are prompted. And then we also have this schema, which is kind of the same as the parameters in this Zod object. And all the schemas are here in the schemas folder. So this kind of just describes the structure of what a grid would look like. Or, we could have a wallet address in here or an ABI in here. And that can possibly be part of the function mapping where we define the structure of the objects we're asking the user about and that we want to generate. So we have in here in this actions file the draw grid, we have the draw pie chart, which is to do the wallet balance pie chart. We have the airdrops, which loads the airdrop component in here, or the airdrop card and airdrop details components. And then we have the buy crypto component, which I imported from the repo. And then this is a new one I was just working on that takes in an ABI and then generates a UI for the contract. And then at the end here, this I believe is for returning the next message. So we just generate a unique ID for the message. And assistant is like the AI talking rather than the user talking. And then this is where we create like the AI state object. And you can see there's kind of that paradigm of like using the server part of the library and the client part of the library. And then we have the AI state and the UI state. Again, like the UI state is the visual representation of the AI state. And I believe they're both like JSON. Okay, so this is, really the biggest file. If you wanted to like update any functions to the generative UI, you would basically just copy one of these tools, make a new one, and then make the function. And we could definitely do a lot more in terms of how dynamic it is, in terms of like what we're taking in here and what we're generating out. Right now, you can see I'm kind of just like popping out a component. But in reality, we would probably want to like put more variables here. So whatever crypto they mention for the buy crypto, maybe it can like auto-populate that crypto. Or for the airdrops, if you say Cosmos, then it should include that in the component that it's rendering logic. All right, so moving on. Globals.css, we just have a bunch of Tailwind code here. In the layout, I put this code here. I want to mention this is because Chakra UI does not work on the server side. You have to have use client to be able to run Chakra UI. But in the layout file, there were some things that have to be on the server side, probably this. So I was able to kind of work around that Chakra limitation by providing this here. We have some metadata, and then we have the main layout. And like we went over earlier, we are wrapping the app in this AI provider that has the AI and the UI state. Okay, going to the home page, we have the shortcuts. So these are the texts that are in these shortcuts right here. So if you wanted to add any other tools and kind of pre-made flows. Basically, it just sends the prompt of the title and the subtitle. So if I click this, it just sends that text. And while I'm here, I want to note one bug / really important thing to know, which is that right now, if you hit enter on the search, it doesn't really work. You have to hit the generate UI button. So if I like type hello and I hit enter, it's actually going to send different text. So that's a bug I need to fix. So just know while you're doing demos with this to, if you want to type something, you have to hit the generate UI button. As of now, I'll try to fix that before I leave. Okay, continuing on here, we just have the visualization of the messages, and then we have the button to submit the next message, and then we have the shortcuts here in this grid. This simple grid here is the shortcuts that are listed, and then we have like the input with the submit button here. So this is the UI for the main page. That is the Chakra provider. In components, so far we have the airdrop component, and then I brought in the icons and just one of the hooks from the main repo for now until we put that in the UI package in order to be able to generate the airdrop component. We needed those. This I don't think we actually need. I think that was from ShadCN, so that can be deleted. The contract UI component is the one that's for visualizing a smart contract ABI. This is where it goes through and it basically sees which one of the functions are read-only, which one of them are write, and then it generates a UI for the write-only ones. This donut chart is for the wallet balance tool, and I'm using this library Tremor to make the chart, and it's just statically in this JSON right now to generate the donut chart. And then this is the grid component that I was thinking is kind of like a prototype for drawing a DeFi dashboard, just kind of having like a basic grid system where, you know, you could have, it looks like that one's running into an error, where you could have, you know, say a 1x1 swap and then a 3-column asset table and kind of use the grid. So that's what this grid component is. And then I started bringing in the swap input from the main component, but that's not being used yet. And then I brought in the theme from the main repo, and because I wanted to start to make it look like David's mockups, so I'm using the Chakra UI theming that we have in the main repo, like our colors and fonts. So that's all in the theme. And I think the rest is pretty much just config. So yeah, really the main file, if maybe I'll make a shorter version of this video, where basically it's all anything that needs to be updated in terms of like the generative AI functionality is basically creating a new tool and then creating the component that the tool is going to generate and like defining when the tool should run. And that's kind of like the meat of it. And each one of these tools also can use a different model, which is kind of cool. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Going through this, I'm happy to answer any questions or like dive into anything deeper, but yeah, it's pretty much the most unique part of it, other than like the setup of the actual app, or just like getting the calls to the model, which is pretty minimal code. The unique generative AI part is pretty much all in this action file here. So yeah, I think that's kind of the key one to look at. So I'll end this video now, and thank you guys for watching.